may be seated. Okay, we come to the citizen communication portion of our meeting. We've had 3 people sign up to speak on the soccer program, and so I'll call your name as it is given here. I have a long thing that I could read to you, but I'm just basically going to tell you, you have 3 minutes to speak. Since we have 3 people speaking on the same thing, please limit your time to 3 minutes. We will listen carefully. Of course, nothing can be said or an employee's name called or anything like that, any derogatory remarks made, and I don't think we'll have to experience that tonight. So I'm going to call first Mr. Anthony Lamont. If you'll come up here where we can hear you, please.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Anthony Lamont. Well, I'm here to speak about a soccer program. I understand that it would have a great impact for our students. When I was in high school, I tried to get this done. I brought it to some people's attention, and I was shut down immediately, which was unfortunate for me because at the time I was in athletics. So I did sports from middle school to my freshman year, and at that point, I really didn't feel like the sports that we offered were for me, and I wasn't the only one. And I still know that this is the case for many of our students. It's been shown by a lot of research that students who are involved do better in their education, in the school part. And having this soccer program for our students would bring such a benefit to these students who would be able to participate in athletics because, as it is right now, they don't have a sport that they're comfortable with doing. So soccer would be an opportunity for them to benefit greatly. It would bring more students into the athletics program, and it's opened up for them to play other sports that maybe they might not be playing before. Currently, we have a small soccer team that we play in Hondo. I played a role in starting this back when I was in high school, my junior year, and since then, every year we've had 20 kids or so who've been playing soccer. We may have not been the best at the very beginning. We didn't have any experience, any development in the school, but it just showed that there were students who were willing to play and students who were willing to represent Devine. And at this point, the talent has grown enough that we would be a competitive and great soccer team. It would improve these students' academics, it would improve them as athletes, and it would just have an overall benefit to our student population.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Sean Mills.
Good evening. My name is Sean Mills. I'm going to build upon what Anthony said because when he tried to start that soccer team in high school, I was the one he asked to coach. And so we started coaching probably, I guess it was 2018. We had about 18 kids out there. None of them, they weren't in any other sports. They just wanted to play soccer. And so eventually found a place for them to play. We played up in San Antonio. It was a struggle at first because they'd just been playing in DYS. And they're playing against kids who are playing club soccer, and it was a struggle. But then after that, starting in 2021, after COVID, I started building up the program, taking teams aged 10U, 14U, and 17U, taking them over to Castroville, and we participated in their leagues. We did in Castroville for 2 years in those 3 age groups, and then the last 2 years we've been playing in Hondo. In the 14U division with 2 teams. And in terms of readiness, I feel with those 3 years of development, our kids are ready to compete right away. We've been, every year we've played in Castroville and Hondo, we've always had a winning record. Most of my teams have always been 2nd or 3rd place. And we stand toe-to-toe with the kids from Hondo and Castroville. And I believe, especially from the age group 5th grade through sophomore in high school. I've been coaching those kids, and they've gotten better, and we're ready to compete as soon as you guys started. I know Pearsall started soccer the year before last, and we would be in a better position to compete than what they were when they started, because they didn't have any youth programs to speak of before they started. So we're in a better position than what they were. And Hondo started the year before that. I think in terms of our development, I think we're probably at a level we can compete with Hondo right away as well.
You got 1 minute left.
Yes.
You got 1 minute left. That's what I
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think in terms of, that was what I was here to speak about. In terms of our readiness, our kids have been playing together for 3 or 4 years, and they love the sport, and the program's been growing each year. To where we got a lot of kids participating, and they want to play soccer in high school. So that's what I.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And now we have John Blum.
All right, good evening. How are you all? Good. All right, well, like you said, my name is John Blue, and I am actually one of the coaches here that has been working with Sean Mills and Anthony over the last few years, building our pool of players through a variety of age groups, all the way from 4th and 5th grade, all the way up to now. Many of them are now in 9th and 10th grade. And so as Sean Mills said and indicated, we've been extremely successful. We've always been very competitive. In my view, every day I go home from Fort Sam Houston, where I work at, I go on a lot of country roads, come home, all I see is goal posts or goals in everybody's yards. It used to be basketball nets when I was growing up, and now it's all goals, right? And so that just tells me there's an untapped pool out there that we are not exploiting. We have at least 30 or 40 kids right now. Our program has kind of expanded where we've created 2 teams now to compete in Hondo and Castroville, and like I said, we've been very successful. The startup costs for this are very minimal. All we're talking about is a couple of goals, uniforms. The kids can provide their own shin guards and cleats. And I'm sure there are plenty of parents out there, or even maybe players, that would help donate balls or whatever it is that we need in order to start this program. This is an enormous opportunity for us to take advantage of. And we always want to beat Pearsall. We always want to beat Hondo, right? We have a bigger student body than they do, yet we have no team. We should create a team, and we can be competitive immediately. I almost can guarantee we'll at least take 1st or 2nd place. We can do it if you guys say that we can do it. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. You came in just the right time when we're ready to look at
I would just
budgets.
like to point out, we have a lot of parents here that are in support. Most of these 2 tables are here in support of this.
Thank you all for coming. We, of course, can't give you an answer tonight, but you are coming at a time when we are looking at our budget and what we can do in the coming year. So hopefully we'll have some news for you in the next month or so. Okay. Thank you, and good luck with your program. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you need to leave, please feel free to. We have someone else that has signed up to speak, Mr. Joe Navarro.
Good evening, distinguished board members, Dr. Granji. I would like to say a few words regarding our raises or adjusting the pay of our teachers. While I completely understand the need to be competitive with the surrounding districts with new and upcoming teachers, I would also like you to please keep in mind the teachers that have been here as well. Loyalty is huge for me, and I've been extremely loyal to the school district for 26 years. Experienced teachers are the foundation of our district. They mentor, guide, and facilitate new teachers, as well as how things run in our schools. We also turn the new teachers into the experienced teachers. This is a necessary cycle. Much like the life cycle, when one thing is taken out, the cycle struggles. With this being said, I would also like to mention that we have not seen a significant pay raise in some time. I would like to ask that you please keep all the teachers in mind when you're thinking about raises and adjusting our pay. Experience and loyalty matter. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, thank you. I don't believe we have anybody else that's signed up to speak. Thank you very much. Okay, we go into a report that is necessary that we give on our school board continuing education hours. This is a requirement that we do, so please bear with me. I have a little bit of reading to do. I'll make it as short as I can. Under the State Board of Education rules, the completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any city board member. As board president, I'm required to announce the name of each member who has completed or exceeded the required continuing education or is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training. There are 9 training areas for board members' continuing education: local district orientation, orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code, team building, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children, school safety, cybersecurity, and additional continuing education. To the extent applicable to board members, I will announce the completion of deficiency as to the required training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board member's training in excess of the continuing education requirements. There was not a need for the local district orientation or the orientation to the Texas Education Code and post-legislative update because we have no new board members this year. For post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code, team building, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children, all board members have completed their training. That is, I will read their names: Nancy Pepper, Henry Moreno, Carrie James, Carl Brown, Renee Frieda, Chris Davis, and Allie Buchenhausen. Now I will read those who have exceeded the required continuing education. Board member Nancy Pepper exceeded the required amount of training by 1 additional hour. Board member Henry Moreno exceeded the required amount by 1 additional hour. Board member Carrie James exceeded the required amount by 3.25 additional hours. Board member Carl Brown exceeded the required amount by 2 additional hours. Board member Renee Frieda exceeded the required amount by 4 additional hours. Board member Chris Davis exceeded the required amount by 3 additional hours. And board member Allie Buchenhausen exceeded the required amount by 5 additional hours. Okay, thank you very much. As you can see, our board takes very seriously our training that is required. There are boards in our district that don't do the training they're supposed to do, but we do take it very seriously. Okay, Ms. Beadle will give us an instructional specialist report.
We actually have a video for the board tonight. Our instructional specialists serve in an interesting capacity in that they're teacher peers, but they don't have an assigned classroom. So sometimes people wonder, well, what is it that that role does? And that role can look very different in different school districts. You might have an instructional coach on one campus, you might have an instructional technologist in another district. Our support for curriculum instruction assessment systems are our instructional specialists, and they don't look like administrators and they don't quite look like teachers, and we just wanted to share with the board and everyone else what does that role look like and what is it that they do. So we have a little video for you.
Instructional specialist. Think of them as the bridge between teaching and learning. They're a blend of an instructional coach and a curriculum specialist, ensuring that teachers have the tools and knowledge they need to help students succeed. So what exactly do instructional specialists do? They're involved in a variety of key tasks. Instructional specialists plan with teachers and can model strategies and lessons. They facilitate data analysis, identifying trends and patterns. They collaborate with teams during professional learning communities. They visit classrooms and offer constructive feedback. And they model continuous improvement and growth mindset. Importantly, they also focus on building trusting relationships with teachers, fostering an environment of support and growth. Instructional specialists work closely with teachers to analyze and explore the curriculum. Together, they delve into the content, identifying key concepts and skills by thoroughly examining the curriculum. They equip teachers with the insights needed to design impactful and targeted instructional plans and assessments. When necessary, they even get into the classroom and model strategies and lessons. Instructional specialists excel at facilitating data analysis with teams. They guide educators through the process of examining student data, identifying trends, and pinpointing areas for improvement. By fostering collaboration and providing expertise in data interpretation, they empower teams to make informed decisions that drive student success. Instructional specialists play a crucial role in supporting collaborative teams by fostering communication, sharing best practices, and guiding professional development. They help teams of teachers work together effectively to improve student outcomes. Instructional specialists serve as coaches, offering invaluable feedback to teachers through personalized guidance and constructive critique. They empower teachers to reach their full potential and create impactful learning experiences for all students. Instructional specialists lead by example, actively engaging in ongoing learning to stay current with the latest research, legislation, professional development opportunities, and accountability measures. By integrating new knowledge into their practice, they inspire a culture of continuous improvement among teachers and students alike. Instructional specialists understand the importance of building trusting relationships with staff. They actively listen, provide support, and demonstrate empathy, creating a safe and collaborative environment by fostering mutual respect and open communication. Instructional specialists establish strong partnerships with teachers, fostering a culture of trust and collaboration that enhances professional growth and student success. Why is the instructional specialist role important? Well, it's simple. Our students deserve the very best teachers. And yet, so often teachers find themselves lacking the time and resources to serve our students as effectively as they want to. The instructional specialist steps in to bridge that gap, playing an instrumental role in giving teachers what they need so that students achieve success. Let's hear directly from teachers about the impact of instructional specialist support on their teaching practices and student outcomes.
Hi, my name is Joe Boulder. I'm the Texas Assistant Teacher at Devine Middle School, and I utilize our instructional specialists quite often. Mrs. Lindsay is always willing to help with lesson planning and helping me create engaging and fun lessons for the students, and also providing very helpful feedback from those lessons and helping me tailor them to each specific class, as well as helping me with my tests and quizzes and the content clarifiers and things of that nature that we need and need help with. And just an extra set of eyes in the classroom to see what I'm doing right and what I can build upon. And I think that that is a helpful tool for all of us here at Devine Middle School, and we definitely appreciate all that she does for us.
My name is Marisol Rankin Garcia. I am the science department head here at Devine High School. I teach biology, chemistry, and anatomy. And I would like to talk about the role for the instructional specialist here at the high school. The role was a very helpful role as it was here. My experience with the instructional specialist was very positive. She was able to help the department with data disaggregation, work able to really understand and focus our teaching based on data. She was a great advocate for teachers. She was that in-between person between us and the administrative cabinet. She was able to help us do a lot more collaboration with the administrative department versus not having that individual. She was also a great resource in different levels through testing and assessments, also trying to find resources for different teachers that would help us with our teaching and learning strategies. It is a very important role that I think would benefit all the different schools of the district.
Hi, my name is Julia Hogue, and I'm a first grade teacher here at the elementary school. In my experience working with instructional specialists at 2 different campuses, here are the most great beneficial ways that you can work with them. At the intermediate campus, you can create STAR 2.0 interactive questions on Eduforia. I have worked with both instructional specialists by looking at diagnostic data and creating good, effective intervention groups. And last, I have asked an instructional specialist here at the elementary school to come in, watch me do my centers and see if it was effective and to get any pointers from her. Thank you.
Hi, this is Sarah Schilling. I'm a teacher at the intermediate school. I was formerly a teacher at the middle school for a year, so I've had the pleasure of working with 2 fantastic instructional coaches on both campuses. And so there's several ways that I've been supported on both campuses. And most recently here at the intermediate, we've had Empower that we've all been working with. It's a new system. So there's a lot of questions and we need to be taught how to use it. And so our instructional coach here, Ms. Gibson, has really helped us in understanding how to do the input into data and then building questions and really being our instructor on how to use that program and use it effectively and efficiently. Also, on both campuses, I've really appreciated having their support in creating assessments that are both fair and rigorous, which is essential in that we're designing our lessons. And so having their support in helping look over questions and making sure any assessments are quality assessments has been fantastic. And the third way, and the way that I think I appreciate the most, is having someone that's there to help us become better teachers by us working through ways to improve practices in our classroom so that everyone can grow. I love that we have a teacher of teachers to help us with that. So I'm just so ecstatic that we have those guys in our court for the last few years, and I'm looking forward to working with them in the future.
I wanted to extend my appreciation as a parent to Mrs. Valencia for everything she is doing to help with Duke's science class during the transition of teachers. I cannot stress enough how grateful I am that she, as an experienced science teacher, is able to put that talent towards helping. Thank you for learning about the vital role of the instructional specialist in our schools. Together, we're paving the path to excellence for our students and teachers.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, but I will say that Ms. Jessica Alexander put quite a bit of extra outside of hours time into building that, so we really appreciate that.
Very good.
Who was reading that?
So,
Who was reading that? It wasn't us, was it? Okay. Okay. I did not read that.
I can't build a video like that, so I have to credit Lydia right there.
In case some of you out there don't realize, we see that right here. We have a TV right here. That's why we're not turned around looking. We're not ignoring it. We are watching it. Thank you. That was very informative. Okay, next we have Dr. Grandjean to tell us about our intruder detection audit report.
As everyone knows, we have new mandates from the state of Texas and the legislature in terms of intruder detection audits. They send somebody to the school to test our audit facilities, check our doors, make sure everything's locked, and then the door sweeps that we do once a week that the principals all do and keep records of, we have to produce those. So the last intruder detection audit that we experienced was at the DAEP. We passed everything with the outer security, the structure, everything was fine. Mr. Zanowski had to be out that day to do something with our parents from New York, and so when it was time to turn in the door sweep reports, they were not able to access them off of our computer, so they gave us a finding on that. I pulled them down that afternoon and some of the TEA, and they said, sorry, no, if you don't have them at the time that the gentleman is there doing the audit, that you still got to find them. So we're going to take corrective action, we're going to do training, we're going to create the door sweep audit to where it's accessible by more than one person at that campus, and then I'll report back.
Okay, next we move into our administrative reports. First is Dr. Frenchie.
Okay, for our safety and security, human resources report. So we have filled many of our vacancies. We still have a few key positions that remain vacant, but we are interviewing at campuses. I know for sure one of our campuses is aware of the folks that are leaving at this point. They've already got those filled, so we're excited about that. Keeps the pressure off in the summer. We T-test evaluation process is complete. Campus administrators have submitted their contract recommendations for Chapter 21 contracts, which would be our teachers. The teacher recommendations were submitted. I'll have those for you in the closed session portion of today's meeting. The APs and principals are still following the drill schedule. Like I said before, we have one coordinated lockdown with law enforcement. That date has been scheduled, so I know that Mr. Davis had mentioned wanting to possibly come. If any of the board members want to come and be a part of that, you're more than welcome. You just can't give away the date. Safe Cycle 2 grant opened on March 28th. We're working on our application. We're hoping to get a fair amount of funding from that to help us finish up on access points, stuff that we will be able to take out of the bond project list and use TEA's money so that we can extend our proceeds from the bond a little bit further. On the superintendent report, first priority, increase student success. No word on the A through F ratings. No one's really disappointed about that because they say that only 20% of every campus in the state will increase their rating based on the way that they have been revamped and the accountability system has changed. We are nearing an adoption opportunity for our strategic goals that were developed through our project with TA and Region 20, the strategic planning group. Next meeting or so, possibly, I think is when we'll bring those to you guys. We've been getting some really constructive feedback on the teacher incentive allotment plan. It was submitted to Region 15. They gave us some comments back through collaboration with the group that's working on it at the high school. It was officially submitted today at probably, 3 o'clock?
1:30.
1:30. So now it's just in the process of waiting. We'll wait to hear back from them. As soon as that's approved, then we don't have to go through the same process with every other campus again. We just amend the plan that we have, and then we bring everybody in together. It was a very thought-out process and trying to keep from having to have so many complications. Continued safety visits, doing our door sweeps, I mentioned that before. Attended the Lions Club meeting on March 14th. I'll have to get the next student of the month. Is that this next Thursday? Yes. A lot of this repeats. We did our contractor walkthrough. Mentioned to several of you that the stairs out front and behind the high school were a big focal point of this. The architect is going to have some potential options for us in the near future. And our stair project is still in the litigation status with the contractor that was working on it previously. The architect did mention that there may be an opportunity that we don't have to go back with stairs at all. That we may meet the criteria for safety, and then they can do a whole design on the front of the building to make it look a little bit more eye-friendly. We're putting together, the principals have been tasked with putting together focus groups that are going to be the architect kind of influx to what's happening at the campuses. It'll be the principal, the AP, and 2 or 3 employees from that campus. We're going to have, I think, 3 to 4 meetings with the architect and those groups before the end of school is what the goal is. So we'll find out Wednesday if they have their list put together, if they've gotten volunteers, or if they have to have some voluntold people. I'm not sure. And that is all I have unless you have questions.
Okay, moving on then, we go to our Special Programs and Instruction Director, Ms. Beal. have any questions on her report.
She has
She had the special report for the 4-day week presentation. So she wants to get that.
I tried something new. I tried some new technology. I used to be really great with technology. And then I sent me to central office and it all fell apart. But I tried something new with technology, and it turns out that this view is great as long as it's zoomed in really, really big, and I can just kind of move things along. So as I was sharing with you all about the 4-day school week research process, we'll kind of go down in a timeline across this presentation. Thank you all so much for giving us the opportunity to share with you an update on the 4-day week research process so far. I do want to say I've had the opportunity to take a look at some other school districts' resources from their 4-day week research, and to a great extent, it appears to be sometimes the case that there was an intention from the administration to push for a 4-day week in some cases, and it's been very district-led in some cases. But in our case, our District Educational Improvement Committee has been leading this entire research piece. So they've been very heavily involved. They've made all of the decisions. They haven't been led or guided, although the central office and the superintendent have collaborated with and assisted and been supportive of their research. But it's a little bit different than what we see happening in some of the other districts that have gone 4-day week. We had members of our committee who were very passionate about wanting to research this, and the committee has taken that role of researching 4-day week very seriously. So, to kick us off, in November of 2023, we had a DEIC meeting where we would normally begin conversations about the calendar for the next academic school year. And during that meeting, DEIC members approved a motion to initiate research into a 4-day week calendar. And the intention at that time was either 2024 or 2025 school year or later. It was understood from the very beginning that it might be a little bit too much research to try and complete for a very quick turnaround. And another motion was approved on that date to survey teachers, parents, community members, and students to learn who or what percentage of each group would be in favor of research, why and why not. And so we did release, well actually that comes up in December, but in late November, before we released this survey to our entire community, I went out and I spoke at every department in the district and shared with them the fact that DEIC was going to research 4-day week, what the District Educational Improvement Committee's role was in the school district, how they function to recommend an academic calendar to the school board every year, how the school board chooses whether to adopt that calendar or they want to send it back and ask for adjustments, all of those things. I also shared about the District Educational Improvement Committee being our comprehensive needs assessment and district improvement plan committee that makes recommendations for those pieces as well. So I just wanted everybody to understand that this wasn't a group of people who decided that they wanted to research 4-day week and made a committee that maybe, not everybody's ever heard of, but that everybody would know who they were, what they do, and that academic calendar recommendation is nothing new to that committee. And so I shared information at every department, and I also went ahead and sent out a school messenger email giving parents that same information via attachment, and also just sharing with folks to be on the lookout for an upcoming survey. And we also emphasize that research means research, that it doesn't mean that something's necessarily happening, it just means that it's being researched. So those were kind of the emphasis pieces there. In December, the survey link went out via DISD email to teachers and staff, and also through school messenger email. And the questions the committee approved for that survey were: do you support a 4-day school week? If a 4-day school week were implemented, which day would you prefer for students to have off? Choices were Monday or Friday. And then we asked to please provide any additional comments or information that you want the community to know. And we asked what the respondents' role in the community was. In February, at the DEIC meeting, I'm sorry, I think I skipped down. Here we go. In January at the DEIC meeting, we reviewed that first survey. The results were that about 73% of 275 respondents supported research, and the respondents were 198 parents, 1 student, 59 community members, 97 teachers, and 50 other DISD staff. And also note that they could serve in more than one of those roles, so they might have checked off more than one box. It could be a teacher and a parent, for example. And then we had Fridays favored by the slight majority, and so you can see here, this is our do you support a 4-day school week? And then this is Mondays or Fridays, and Fridays were slightly favored there. In January, we had also determined that research would continue at the same meeting. The DEIC chose to continue research, but for the 2025-2026 school year, we saw the need to move forward with an academic calendar for next school year and make sure that we got that information to the folks who needed it. So we did recommend this year's calendar already to the board, this upcoming year's calendar already to the board. DEIC set a late February meeting date to review research, and we formed the following subcommittees. And it's really interesting if you're in the room for all of this, because you can go and look and see how did other school districts, they had predetermined this is what they were these are the research groups that they were going to have. But in that meeting, that committee just collaborated over deciding what groups they wanted for research based on the survey results that they had also just reviewed, and seeing what the concerns were from the community and what those pressure points might be very specifically for us. So our DEIC is authentically researching this for our district, and I think that that's impressive. We're not following the footsteps of any other district that may or may not look anything like us. This group is working hard to research for us. And so I did include an artifact here where you can see those committees being just written up on the whiteboard and folks signing up to be on those committees. Committees that were formed, subcommittees I should say, were the accountability subcommittee, community impact, there's a committee on compensation, contracts, and retention, one on impact on attendance and and special populations, and then a subcommittee for schedules and calendar. So these subcommittees went out and researched. They called anybody that they knew. They might have sent a few emails asking for information. We had the opportunity to view Athens ISD's, they do a Q&A session via Zoom, and they've been a 4-day school week for about 5 years. And they get so many requests for information that they actually just have a Zoom and invite people to come to it, and then they're like, that's it. We did our Zoom. So quite a few of our members attended that as well. And so at the February meeting, which was set specifically for this research, each subcommittee reported their research findings to the committee, and many resources were uploaded to our 4-day week resource subcommittee folder. So we have a shared folder for the District Educational Improvement Committee that's just every resource that anybody has shared related to 4-day week. It includes some of our minutes and other things. But just to give the board and the members of the audience an idea of how much these folks have looked into, I did want to screenshot and add some artifacts from those subcommittee folders and share just how robust the research has been. In February, still the same meeting. We're still talking about the exact same meeting in February. So we've reviewed the research, and after a whole lot of discussion, there was a motion to vote regarding whether to continue researching by show of hands. This is an internal motion to vote in DEIC, members present by show of hands. Did you want to continue to research or not? 21 present said yes, 2 said no, 5 were neutral after hearing the research from those subcommittees. Also in February, the same meeting, in an effort to determine the committee's why, it was clear that the majority wanted to continue research, and then the next question is, well, why exactly? Because when we go to the community and we need to ask them more questions and be more specific about what our plans may or may not be, we need to have a really good idea as we start to think about what the how might be, and we start to research what that academic calendar that we recommend may need to look like. we really need to examine our values and figure out why it is that we feel that we want to continue researching or don't want to continue researching. Because if these are items that if there are folks who don't want to continue researching, what are their top reasons for that? And we know that if we are going to continue to research, and when I say we, I'm really referring to that whole group, not, I'd say central office we quite a bit, but I'm referring to that group. We need to be able to figure out how do we work through the challenges that people see, and then also what are our priorities for moving forward if we do move forward, that we would be able to communicate to the public as we ask them for even more help shaping what this might look like. And so we had an internal survey for DEIC. It asked, you had to be a member of the committee, and it asked, were you for continuing to research, against continuing to research, or on the fence, and then what were your top 3 reasons for whichever of those choices that you had. So that has been completed by the majority of members, and then we have a DEIC meeting on Wednesday. So day after tomorrow we'll have our next meeting, and the question would be, what's next? What are our next steps? And I wouldn't be able to answer that question right now because the committee needs to answer that question. They're the ones that are leading the charge. And I did have a little bit more space on this to make sure that I could share with you who are the members of the DEIC for 2023-2024. They're on your left. And then on the right, I just had a little bit more space too, just to share what did that flyer look like that I shared information with parents and our faculty about how the calendar process works. Way back there in the beginning. So this is the information that was shared with them. Does anybody have any questions that I might be able to help with?
Thank you for all of the work. Thank you.
Sure. Wednesday night is our last scheduled meeting, and so if we do any other research this year, the DEIC will have to schedule another meeting, so let's do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll continue on. We have the rest of our reports, Ms. Dawn Schneider's report and our special education report. Does anybody have any questions on any of that, those reports? Okay, next we go to our business reports by Ms. Shannon. Any questions? And then our principal's reports for all of our campuses. Any questions? All right, thank you. And then the director's reports. Now we move into our consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the last meetings and a budget amendment, and to approve a request by the band boosters for an increase in their scholarship. I have a motion to, somebody make a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Carl and a second by Henry. Does anybody have any questions on any of these items? The band boosters was going up to 3,000, I believe. Okay. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Passes 6-0. Now we go into our action items. Consider and take possible action to ratify the textbook recommendation.
All right, in accordance with Texas Education Code 31.101, the school board must notify the State Board of Education of the materials selected by the local school board for use in the following school year. So to keep in line with this, our conforming to the policy of the state adoption list for all courses in technology applications, personal finance, and science, the textbooks have been considered by the teachers who have attended the textbook presentation and have met as well as with each other to make the best selection for our students and their success. So the recommendation that I have for you guys is approve the list of all conforming instructional materials approved by the state of Texas and their report documents in the board book if you have any questions on those.
There's a lot of them. We have motions. Motion on.
Madam President, I move to ratify the textbook recommendations by campus representatives.
Okay, I have a motion by Carl, and a second by Carrie to, ratify the textbook recommendation by campus representatives as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Passes 6-0. Okay, consider and take possible action on the 2024-25 salaries tables. I know this is what you're all here for. I'll ask Ms. Shannon to give us.
Just last week, we had great discussion at our 3-hour budget workshop. A short summary of that workshop showed us that after all of our budget meetings with our departments and campuses, they had additional projects and additional personnel of over $1.2 million. With the new budget run, that would be an overall budget of about $2.1 million in the hole as a deficit, but that was the first budget run. It's usually pretty high like that. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll prioritize all those projects and new positions requested. One thing that we did look at, though, are the different salary increase models. We looked at quite a few. We ran about 6 additional ones. Do y'all want to go over the additional ones, or do y'all have one that y'all would like to discuss?
Was it make 18 that we have?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
We have quite a few. Is there one in particular that you've had a chance to review and that you'd like to discuss? If we don't start with the teacher one, we can start with the other ones. The other 3, there were minor changes in titles, or an additional one that we talked about, the athletic trainer, moving that to the professional table. The stipend table, that night after our meeting, I was like, I didn't feel like we discussed that enough. We have a lot of TASB salary survey information in the drive, but we really didn't have a chance to dive into that. I think we have the option to adopt some of the tables and not all of the tables. If you'd like to discuss that at the next workshop.
That's
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
That's the stipend.
The stipend.
The stipend one.
I would like to review that in the next budget. I had some questions, but
Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the stipend schedules, but there's quite a bit of changes there.
lots of changes.
And
Lots of changes.
I think we probably need to talk about that a little bit more. Maybe at the next budget meeting.
Okay, so going back to the teacher tables then.
Can you show us the 54 one?
Yes.
It's not showing like, I can't get it.
Yeah, mine's not showing
I
up.
can't get it to go over.
Okay, the one we discussed the other night was moving the current table, this is our current table, starts at 48 to start it at $54,450. The difference in the steps would be $300. We've always had our more experienced teachers being paid more than surrounding areas. Not so much our beginning of year teachers, our early ones with less experience. This table kind of shifts that. Now, a lot of our teachers are retiring. When I saw the invoice on the end of year pins, the majority was 5 and 10 years. We're having a little bit of a shift in our staff. And so this would hopefully retain and recruit some of those younger teachers.
Shannon.
This,
Can y'all hear her back there?
No.
Can you move up closer to it? I can hear it. Thank you.
I'm scared to move.
Is it loud for you?
Yes. So starting with this table, the cost of the table, if we call this a new hiring table, we've always called it a teacher table. If we call this the hiring table, and adjust our current teachers to this hiring table, it would cost $493,841. So keeping in mind, any of these raises are going to come out of your fund balance most likely, unless we find the 2.1 million in projects and personnel and other projects that we're looking at right now. But this one-time shift to adjust everybody to this table, and then next year we would look at the different ways we could do the 2% or the 3% off of a midpoint, off of a market value, off of a previous year's salary, all the different options that we have in salary increases. So this one right here would be the $493,000. We did a couple of other ones. We changed the step to $500, still with the starting salary at $54,450. This would cost you about $869,000. And keeping in mind, these are just our teachers. This doesn't include the other three tables. Also, this is a low figure. I'm doing all 131 at 187. There are about 30 that are also 197 and 226 that have the extra days. That would be another 30,000 approximate in days and an increase in TRS contributions and such. So this is a very low ball figure. We also ran it at starting at the 54,450, but changing it every 10 years, the steps. Starting at 300 and then going to 400 and then moving on to 500. This would cost $609,441. Some other ones we did was just not changing the table and just doing the 5%, and that would be $386,000. We went back down to the 52, not going so high at the beginning, but as you see, our bottom 10 years, it's negative. We definitely don't want to do that. The 300 was negative. The at $400 a step is $360,000. Got lots of choices. Surrounding areas. You do have the TASB surveys in your drive. What I pulled was 1,500 to 2,500 in terms of enrollment. We're sitting at about 2,000. So that gets about everybody a little bit bigger, a little bit around our size. There's a lot of schools in there. If you're looking at the immediate surrounding areas, we're about in the middle. And so, is our goal to be surrounding areas? Is our goal to be average? Is our goal to take care of our more experienced teachers?
And that's currently, we're about in the middle.
I think I talked to Lila, they started at 48 right now, trying to decide what they're going to do.
Right now, Jordan's at 45, we're at 48 for Hondo's at 48,970, Natalia's 50.5, Lila 52.6, and Medina Valley 57.7.
What was the name of that?
Medina Valley is 57,007.
They're busting up the seams.
Compete the San Antonio.
Can you go back to the first one we did? That was last week.
The 53.
Right.
The 53, 4,
Yes. The difference is,
at 53, and steps at 400, it's $491,491.
and that's just a change of the
That's
steps.
just adjusting them to the new table.
And that's just for new community, our current. It doesn't negatively affect any of our current teachers.
Our current teachers, this adjustment affects our current teachers.
So what
But
she's
not
talking
negative.
about doing is if you set the new table and you called it a new hire table, that one-time move, you move everybody to that new pay. Then moving forward, some of the options that we would be able to have is not have to have the teachers on that step anymore. Only the people that came new to our district, we would find out where their experience was. What that gives the opportunity to do now is teachers could be able, you guys could say, you know, hey, at-will employees get a 3% raise and teachers get a 3% raise, or at-will employees get a 3% and teachers get a 2%, or vice versa. The complicated part, and it's not super complicated, it's just teachers we're gonna have to train them better to be able to go into Ascender, our computer program, when they want to know exactly how much they're making. Because it's not going to be something that you can easily go look on the website, and it's going to be extremely, you send an email or whatever, you get 130 emails, and try to, it's going to be different. It'll be all over the place. Depending on, just like what Shannon's saying, if you give the teacher, if we go that route, then do they say, okay, teachers are going to get X% on the midpoint? That's how everybody else in the district is paid in the different quantities. Or do you say you get a percentage of market value, which TASB will tell us every single position that we have in the district at right now in the state of Texas, what is the market value of that position? You can do that. Or if you do 3% of what the current salary of the employee is right now, that is going to put you into a lot of probably expenses. That one will get to be the most expensive move. Midpoint is designed that way. It's kind of equitable. Everybody gets the same amount of raise, but sometimes, a philosophy could be, I don't think I deserve the same raise as a 5-year teacher if I've been here as long as Mr. Navarro. It just depends. But that's how all the salary structure is set for every other position.
But with this 53, everybody gets
Would be this blue
a
column.
sizable raise.
Column E would be, the most would be 5,400, and the lowest would be $1,550.
So, which would be those over 30 years.
Yes, ma'am.
But if you're at 20, 25, 26 years, you're still getting $2,000 increase.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess and tell me if I'm way off, but I've been in districts before that if you would leave for a couple of years and come back, you'd actually be hired back at a higher salary than if you stayed in the district all those years. That's not happening to our teachers, right?
that's
I just
why
want to
we're
make sure.
making- Right, that's why we want to make the adjustment first. If we didn't make the adjustment and just started this as our new hiring skill, that's exactly what would happen.
Okay, good.
And we
I just want to
definitely
make sure
don't want to do that.
that's
So
clear.
we'll
Good.
adjust our current staff to the new table, and then next year, look at the different scenarios for salaries.
Could you pull up like Natalia's and those other three? Oh, but you didn't have the scale you had where they started.
Yeah.
Like what is their 30? Do you remember what their 30s were?
No, I haven't.
Because that's what, and Rhonda and Ms. Shelton and Mr. Navarro probably fit into this, and that's what a lot of the discussion was last week when we had that meeting. Is a 30-year teacher, the reason that it's 1,500 and the first year teacher is 4,000 is because of the discrepancy in the way our curve works for our pay scale. Didn't we say like somewhere around the 20-year mark that we, or like we overpower the people near us, or at least that's when it was
We're
designed.
unique in that we go 30 years, because most of our staff goes the whole 30 to get their 80%. A majority of them go to just 25. And so that we go longer, we do have higher salaries at the end. But I would have to go and pull them. That was,
Yes, please. Okay, so Natalia at 30 years
Can you pull up the
is 63,250.
step?
Where?
Oh, you're still working on it, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
I thought you were just,
But then they go to 40 years too, so that's very unusual.
Did you hear that?
63,250
And,
at 30 years.
and we should be at 65 if we were to get this.
Yes, one. And Chris, which one did you want to?
was it the 54 with the 3, 4, and 5 steps on it?
Yeah.
Rival at 30 years is 64,150. Yes, ma'am.
So with this one, it's part of it with the 54, with the 3,400,
Yes.
that is
Cost.
609.
It cost about 100, just over 100,000 more than just the consistent at 30. And the difference between the 53 and the 54 isn't that much, it's just a couple. But the difference is the beginning rate, it's $1,400 more.
Do we have to come up with what we want the steps to be, or how we're going to do that, or can we just do
Just adopt the
the new hiring table and figure out the steps at a later date during the budget process?
Well, she's suggesting that we just do the table, which would give them all an increase.
Right. So we can
come back.
So, and it depends on which one we choose. But what she was trying to say is that it's all come out of fund balance, and we haven't considered the other employees yet.
Right.
So we're looking at, depending on what we do, between at least 600,000 to $1 million.
All other staff is a percent of their midpoint, and down here we ran 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 5%. And it would be 98,000, 153,000, and 263 for their different scenarios. So this is on top of the increase in the teacher's assistant.
And we have to realize that whatever we do with this is going to greatly impact what else we're able to do in the budget. And so where they're asking for new teachers and they're asking for, all kinds of things that they need, we may or may not be able to do it if we, spend a lot of money on I'm not saying we shouldn't spend money on the salaries, we just need to consider the differences between the different tables so that we know where we want to land.
We usually don't adopt until May. We were trying to go a little bit early to help the campus principals when they start recruiting, since we are getting retirees and such from the incentive that y'all passed a couple months ago. But we can't wait until May if we need more consideration.
I don't think we should buy.
Do you know what you want?
It's right there at the 54.
I'm at that 54 one that you had, that you pulled up for me. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or with the 3 different step amounts or just the
Yeah, and the one with the 3, 4, and 5, or just, take a look at the steps at later time.
I believe that if we go with this one, which I tend to look at also, that we can't do a step this year. I think we have to wait. Do a percentage increase after that, or 2% or whatever, on top of it. I don't think we'll be able to afford that and do anything else in the budget.
So you're just falling in the blue column, is what
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
I didn't know that's what you were asking. I thought you were saying like after we developed it, is that how you could go with percentage with that? I understand what you're saying.
That's a huge increase for everybody. Huge.
Well, the best part about that table is that your 28, 29, and 30s see more than 0.
Yeah.
And that's really, if you look at the increase on those, the lowest one is 3,000. That's quite a few years of a step at $500 to even get there.
That's right.
So
And part of the question, I know that I keep calling out the 30-plus year teachers, but the reason that it looks like this, if you were to look at it in terms of a visual, it's an upward sloping curve is what our salary table looks like. And that was put on every school district in 2018 with House Bill 3.
Right.
And that's why the salary schedules are so wonky. And it's not, nobody should take it in any means that we are putting value over a 3 to 4 year teacher more than we are a 30-year teacher. It's trying to correct that upward sloping curve is the intent of what we're trying to do.
HB3 really hit us. They wanted this area between 4 and 7 to have significant increases. And that's what the shift is, and what we're trying to do.
Correct.
If you look at the number of people that we have in, let's say, from 8 years on down, I mean, it's pretty.
We have a big one right here.
18, you go 5, 4, you keep back and forth, and then up because you have that many years experience. And we get at 19, we've got several more, and then we back off again. And we have the most in 2 years. Are you ready to make a decision tonight, or do you think you need to wait?
Is it helpful for principals to have something to hire on?
Absolutely.
I like where we go. I like knowing.
Well, the thing that would be helpful is for the principals to know as they're trying to find people, whatever they get the salary.
And what's the difference between the first plan and this plan? It's just the,
The 53.
This is the one.
one's 53 and one's 54.
The starting salary.
A little over 100,000, 120,000.
This is 54, 450 at 3, is 493. It's just a couple of thousand less at 53.
But the
It
second
starts
one gives,
lower, the steps are bigger, but it almost washes.
And the way the math works, we could almost she's not going to want to hear this. We could almost do because I'm just seeing this now, make it a little bit more sense. You could do like the 53 and do steps at 3, 4, and 5. And your 30 years, your high number of teachers, experienced teachers are going to see a bigger benefit, right? Because they were just modeled. What would it
I could do it in about 5 minutes now.
You got the formula in there. So what is the 54 at 3, 4, and 5? What is the total blue column cost?
609.
Okay. And then there's that one. I mean, that might get us into like the 4.5 to 500,000 range, even though I get it.
What is it?
I have a feeling it would make that. So right now, if it's the 53,400 steps, the 30 plus is only at 1,550. But
It's going to almost average out. It's probably change these
Yes.
top 10 to 3 and these bottom 3 to 5. It's just going to almost average out. It'll be about the same, but the numbers, the blue column will change. I can run them. Give me a minute.
you got 5 minutes. I mean, does that sound like you're maybe worth it? So you don't have to adopt the steps. If we would adopt the starting salary, that's all the principals need for.
Can we just do that tonight and then our next budget meeting? Talk about the steps and whatnot we're going to do after that?
For sure. And then she can have more than 5 minutes.
So you're saying just adopt the starting salary, not or
Yeah, 'cause I have some questions about the tables.
Or you changed it, and not,
Well, then, can we?
can you go back and change it? Fix it?
Yeah.
It would be a big job to fix it.
Well, that's what I mean. So can we not just take, what do we call this? Teacher starting table? Hiring table?
the hiring table.
Can we just We have a hiring table tonight, in our budget meetings.
Yes. Yes.
Discuss the other staffs in the 2%.
You would just be.
Are you saying that you want to
It's
just,
just approving the first.
are you saying that you just want to approve that we would start at 53 or that the whole would?
You're wanting to adopt the whole table,
If
right?
you adopt the whole table, you're adopting the steps.
Well, but they could adopt
You just wanted it adopted.
the 187 salary, where it's a starting pay, and then decide from there.
What if you have somebody that's interviewing that's 20, has 20 years experience? They won't know what their
But
salary
they'll come
would be
in
for
on,
us.
go down to 20.
Unless if we just adopt
They
the,
would come in on 61,000.
yeah, but we have to adopt the whole
Then you're
table.
adopting your steps.
Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. Sorry. I was
We've
confused.
never done just the starting salary, but that doesn't mean.
I think it would be difficult if you're interviewing people with experience.
Yeah.
They won't know what they would be
If you change
coming in
the
with.
step, you're right. If you change the step, that number's going to change.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
And you were gonna change what on
Look
this
at these
to
that are
figure out the more tenured people would get equal? Is that what you're gonna try to adjust?
It's just gonna change the steps. So the first 10 years will only get 300, and the last 10 years will get 500. To give
Changing the
our
step.
more
Here,
experienced
can you
teachers.
quickly do that?
Sorry?
Can you quickly copy that and then just change that? I mean, I know I could probably do it, but.
You can find it.
If you take that, the 53 and make it 300, 400, and 500, different steps, and see what that is. We could go with 54. That's what.
Let's catch up to this.
What do you think? You want to talk about that? Oh, she's busy. What are y'all considering? What are y'all considering as the percentage for the other stuff? It was 2, 3, and 5%. And I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it's 253 is the 5%. And it was in words.
It's one of those folders on the drive.
But it was also,
I mean, there's so many to look at, it's just crazy. Yeah, well, it's not just, it's without it on Sunday, what do you think? Okay, when do you have it?
I didn't even look at the bottom. 419.
419.
So that starts at 53. The first 10 years have steps at 300. Between 10 and 19, their steps are 400. And then between 20 to 30, their steps are 500. The highest increase would be the 53, and your lowest would be 17.
that's what's starting at 53.
That's at 53.
Would you go back and tell us, go back and tell us what the 2, 3, and 5% on the other staff?
At 54 or 50, it's 609. At 53, it's 419. So a difference of almost 180,000.
At the 54, we were looking at 609, and at the 53, we were looking at
419.
419. Or y'all have a preference? This is hard. I'm gonna ask y'all if y'all have a preference. Tell me again, I'm gonna write it down this time because I can't find it, but for the other staff.
There's no way that we know this correct, but are any of those 6 30-plus teachers that you have memorized retiring this year?
Yes.
I know two or two.
So does that give us an option to, I don't know, add a step every year? Even to account?
Where are those?
Okay, sorry. So it was 263? Yes, fine. Okay. We've asked her to look at a lot of things, but we decided anything. Does anybody have a definite what they'd like to?
I like the 54.
54,
I like the 54.
with what type of steps? The 3, 4, 5?
Yeah,
steps?
it's not horrible. I like that.
How about the rest of
The
them?
54 with the 3, 4, and 5 steps down with the 6 and 9. I know it's a lot, but I like to start and pay 54, let the other districts only catch up to us. Maybe we'll get the top pick of the teachers and it gives our 30-year teachers more than $1,000 or so on the raise. So I like that one.
Because they will find at the 32. As a nurse.
This comes out of fund balance.
Most likely, unless we can find.
Next year, too.
2.1.
For all years following?
This will be next year.
This is next year.
Yes.
This is next year.
Okay, so we need
But
the
yes,
state to
whenever
change
we-
something for it to increase. And not,
Basic allowance. We need to change the basic allowance.
And we've got to find a bundle of money somewhere, or we'll be having a deficit balance every year.
Yeah, this would get us to about a 3 million deficit deduction.
And that, I mean, there's, basically, we have to know that we can't consider everything. We really have to look at the other request.
The projects and the positions for sure will have to be prioritized.
Something has to. And do you have, is anybody ready to make a recommendation? Motion.
Well, then I'll do it. I'll recommend this 54-5 with the 3, 4, and 5 step.
I'll second it.
So this is just a teacher table, so it's not all of the tables.
I'm sorry.
It's just a teacher.
Is this just a teacher hiring table?
Yes.
Not any?
Yes. So we would say the 2024 teacher hiring table instead of the salary table. Do you mind changing your motion to that?
So changed.
Okay, I have a motion by Chris and a second by Ally to adopt the 2024 teacher hiring table at $54,500 starting pay with steps of 300, 400, and 500.
54,450.
7,
54,450.
oh, 450, going to 54,
$50 would be in there.
I can't see that far.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting me.
All right, all in favor? Raise your right hand.
I'll abstain.
Okay. We got 5 with 1 abstaining. Okay, now consider the other tables the other staff, you want to look at that tonight?
We could approve the tables and then wait on the percentage if y'all wanted to see.
Well, the percentages for their staff, and they're hiring on those too.
We could just adopt those tables, right, without giving a percentage.
Right, the salary increase for all others doesn't change their tables. Their tables aren't changing at this point.
We're just looking at 2%.
I did change some of the other tables, so we can approve that. There were some added positions.
Yes, yes, that's right. Do y'all know which one you want to consider tonight? I don't know. We don't know now.
Can we wait on this? Would it be tonight, right? Or would it be?
Yes, but they're in the same position. They have people leaving and they're coming
This is
back.
half of our other employees.
Which one
When
do you
you,
recommend, Mr. Grantine?
when you looked at the aides and custodial help and all, were we comparable with other surrounding districts? You have that
I
something.
pulled it, but I didn't. I have to go in and dig into it. 600 pages long.
Yes, that's right. I think that they said at the first year they were having a lot of aides leave. And then Mr. Van Hossen also said that he was having problems, because of they could go almost anywhere again. So.
Maybe we need to look at it at the next budget meeting.
The only drawback I'm going to say is when we change the tables, we usually ask TASB to do that. We could do a percentage raise on each one, but again, when they come back, then they might not be in line. We've only changed the tables with their assistance. At this, it's too late to be able to do that next year. Like, we gotta get on the books in November for the following year. And so, actually changing the tables would be difficult at this point.
I don't know if we changed the table. The 5% is 263, and if it's added to the 609 that we just approved, that would be $872,000. Or 5%, which would be, for some, for some of the lower. Or 3, which I think was 153. That's dollars.
Which one of those, Shannon, puts us more competitive with our aides that we're leaving?
We have to actually change the table. And we have to get TASB's.
But I mean, if we added 5% or 3%, would that bump them up enough?
Our current ones, but the ones we hire, it would affect the people we hire. Not our current employees, the 5% for our current employees would be fantastic. It would be the people that we hire would still be at the current tables, which are a little bit low.
That's what we're asking. So even if Natalia's paying $13.50 for their custodians. Right now, it doesn't help us bring in new ones because we have to have, TASB does that salary survey. And it brings us all the information because then it keeps people from getting crisscrossed with market value, and then they change the table, and Abigail might be making $13 an hour and they change the table to where higher end now is like $13.10 for the same position that she's working at, so they have to go through and help matriculate all of that stuff. But if you were asking, based on the impact that it has for the positions, that this is normally different than admin, right? Different from principals and myself. But the majority of the people that this affects, 5% probably is the best bet, just because of where the salary range is for most of those positions. You're asking what my recommendation was. A 2% on some positions that we have is one.
We're talking
I don't
less
know
than
that
$1
we notice.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And equally as important as our teachers and our admin, and those are the positions that keep us running every day.
I like the 5%. I think it's,
You know, when you look at the amount that we're approving for our teachers, you know, it needs to be considered to the other ones also. I know it's, all of it's a big chunk of money.
These tables were not included in the November extra payment for the zombie teachers back in November. So we made that up to us in those times, and so this 5% show appreciation.
What does that add to the total? 260.
or 260.
263, almost 263.
How many other staff are there?
It's about half and half.
We have 306 employees or something like that.
It's a little bit more, give or take
if you
10, 15.
subtract 131 from that.
So that's same amount of people getting a loan now. I think I'm for the 5%.
I think I must have missed something in that budget meeting, so. Seriously. There's a lot of money coming from thin air, so that's all I have to say.
Yeah, mine make a decision on this tonight. So I need a motion.
This is everybody else. This is your classroom aides, your sped aides, your bus drivers, your directors. This is everybody else who keeps the district rolling so the teachers can do their jobs.
I move to do the 5% a midpoint for all their staff and salary increases, is that right?
And there's not really a motion. There is
Second.
give a 5% increase. To all professional.
It would be to the professional table,
To all
the
others.
clerk, so they all do the 3 things.
This is a very rough estimate, or?
It's low. It's going to be more than this.
Did somebody make a second?
Carry.
Second.
Carrie. All right. I guess you'll have some figures for us, maybe, as far as the final amount at the next meeting?
Yes,
As
I
far as
want to
the-
actually plug the new tables into the Cinder system, the software and actually have it run the numbers and have it throw it in the budget, and we'll do the benefits and everything.
And just so everybody knows too, like, that doesn't count superintendent's salary, so I did not just advocate. It's okay. I just want to make sure everybody else said, oh, well, that's why he's saying that. No, that's not.
He said you're right. Okay, I have a motion on the floor to give 5% midpoint increase to all.
Do we also want to add approving the tables, or would you like that to be separate?
Oh, we do that. I guess we need to do this first, right? Okay. So all in favor of the 5% increase? Raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, then we do have to look at the tables that are here. If you had a chance to look at them, any of the highlighted areas where the changes or the new positions or whatever, they're all added. That's what we're looking at changing. It's not, it doesn't change any of the.
There was no change to the auxiliary table, the clerical or professional table. We added a pay grade 8 for an executive assistant superintendent. It's actually a lot longer than that, and board of trustees. And then on the professional table, we added the athletic trainer we discussed, the LSSP intern, that's a possibility, and the change in adding curriculum and instruction to a director's position.
Those were items that she discussed at the budget meeting, and I'm sure you remember. We discussed it. So are you in favor of approving these, what do you call it?
Revised tables.
Revised tables. Okay, what does a motion do? Motion to approve the revised tables.
Madam President, I move to approve the revised tables.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Carrie and a second by Chris to approve the revised tables. On the federation. All right.
This is really unbelievable. Thank you all so much. This is huge. To have our starting salary this high makes a huge statement of y'all's support of our teachers and our staff. Thank y'all very, very much.
Okay, then that completes our regular meeting. Now we will go into closed session. So the Board of Trustees beginning at 8:06 p.m. will convene in closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing items listed under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082. No final actions or decisions will be taken while the board is in executive session. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate seeing people at our meetings.